You are listening to Basement Chronicles of Lisa Dublin, episode number 17, Letting Go of Fear. Hey, you made it! Welcome to my basement. I'm Lisa Dublin, a health and life coach, and I help professional and executive women to live, lead, and speak with confidence. Because you know what? Developing your confidence and deepening your faith in God is the best formula for an amazing life. So, are you ready? Let's go. Hey everyone, how are you doing? I just finished the very first class of the speaking school, and I am even more encouraged that I'm doing the right thing, that this school will train speakers and help them to continue along that journey of becoming more confident and authentic. Today we dealt with the art of conversation. And so much came out of that discussion. I presented and then the students chimed in with their own experiences and observations and learned to become better networkers, learned the value of showing up in good energy, in I am enough energy, in the energy of, hey, who are you? I want to know you, instead of here I am, come talk to me. That makes all the difference in any networking or conversation situation. And we discussed that today. So they took away so much value. A lot of them are very pleased about it and are looking forward to next month's installation of the speaking school. If you don't know already, I am the founder of a program called the Speak with Confidence program. It has been running since 2021, and we're now in our 8th cohort. It's a program where I take professionals and executives, a very small group of them, over the course of 5 weeks, and I teach them the art and the science of speaking with confidence and showing up authentically. If you are interested, you can go to my website, lisamdublin.com/S, and you can check out the program there and find out more about what the students have to say, those who've gone through the program. So that's where I was today, and here I am today talking about letting go of fear. I spoke about it on the live sometime this week, but this story about how my most recent bout of fear, how I overcame it, I think will really bless and encourage people out there. This is for you if perhaps you have a lovely job in which you are not very satisfied and you're looking for the next step. This is for you if perhaps you are at the point of retirement and you're wondering what might be next for you. This is for you if right now in your job you feel depressed, unfulfilled, you don't even want to be there, and you want to discover what might be next. In August of 2023, I changed careers. I didn't make a big fanfare. I didn't tell many people. Only my inner circle knew. But what I did was to move from working in a 9-to-5 office job to now working for myself as a full-time writer, speaker, and life coach. I changed careers. Notice that I'm framing it in that way instead of saying that I left my job, because it wasn't that. It was switching careers because I moved from one to the other. You guys, you might be asking the question, how did you do it? And to answer that question, I have to go all the way back to 2020 when the world was shut down because of COVID-19. We were all sent home to work, to live, to play, to exist, to fight, to do all the things. Many of us didn't make it. As an introvert who just wanted more from life, I was one of those who looked at this as an opportunity to begin to do what I wanted. And so I did a couple things. Remember, I always say to us, you're a favored daughter, okay? If you are a male listening, you're a favored son of God the Father. I approach God like that, like a favored daughter who's always asking and always expecting. And the minute I began to feel that there might be a possibility for me to begin to transition into the thing that I call my calling, and I'll tell you how I came up with that in a bit. The minute I began to hanker and to desire that, I wanted to ask my father to give it to me. So I was putting so much energy into wanting it, asking for it, wanting this thing. So I saw myself like solving problems, exchanging solutions for money instead of time for money. I saw myself as that person who was no longer tied to a 9 to 5 that I hated and that I didn't want to do anymore, and which was getting uncomfortable and painful, frankly, to just be there. I saw myself as that person who would have the freedom to pick up my children, drop them at school, take them from one activity to the next without any loss of income, any loss of goodwill from an employer, etc. I saw all of that in my mind, and I asked my father to give it to me. Sometime in 2021, through prayer and fasting, God gave me the answer. I got the promise. It dropped in my spirit. You will not go back to the office. In fact, this brazen dread God that we serve, he also said to me, write a book as if you had already left. And I did that. That book is called I'm Not Going Back to the Office, and it's going to be released later this year, 2024. What it did, and I didn't realize it at the time, I was simply being obedient to my father, who was going to give me something that I asked for. I wrote that book as if I had already left. I wrote how I left. I wrote how I became a life coach, how I became a speaker, how I became a writer. And I finished that book in October of 2022. So you see how even before I left, almost an entire year before, I already almost had a blueprint because I had the obedience to what God was saying to me. You guys, that process wasn't just faith. Faith without works is definitely dead and would not have worked in that instance. Because I had the assurance, the certainty within me, as I like to call it, the title deed of my leap of faith, of the thing that was going to happen, I got to work to do the physical, the things in the natural. I got my certification as a life coach. I took courses in setting up online courses. I took courses in speaking, got certified as a speaker with Eric Thomas. I took all sorts of courses. It was pretty hard, maxed out the credit cards because I knew that I was heading to something big. I knew that the day would come when I would be asked to return to the office full time, because the point did come when I was asked to return for 2 days at a time, and I took it because I knew that I wasn't ready as yet to say goodbye. And so for a minute there, I was 2 days in and 3 days at home, which still allowed me a little bit of leeway to continue my coaching practice before and after work on weekends, etc. What it meant, however, is that I was super tired and didn't have as much time for my children, for my husband, for the family as I should have. You know, when you're building something, it's already difficult. It's doubly hard when you're handling the day job, plus going through perimenopause, as well as building the business. It got to the point where I was super tired. I was sleepy all the time and grumpy. And, you know, it showed with my children. It showed in my relationship with my husband. It showed in, frankly, the state of my home for a minute there. And so I had to make that decision. Sometimes when God wants to move you, there are push factors as well. I think the last straw came sometime in the spring of last year when I was told that I would have to return to the office full-time in the fall of 2023. You guys, all of that work before, the entire 2 or 3 years before, from 2020 all the way up to 23, all the certifications, building my clientele, building the reputation as a life coach, learning how to become a paid speaker and doing that. All of those things now came into play. Not only would I have to return to the office full time, 5 days a week, but they would change my office for no reason. Like, I don't even know why that would have happened, except that it was time to go. And I would move from my office where I was alone for the last 2 years, nice large office where I was super comfortable, to a smaller office that had no windows, that would be next to the elevator, so that every clueless student and person who came off that elevator would come to the first point of contact, which would be me. I had to make a choice at that point, and very quietly, I gave in my resignation. It was time to change careers. I didn't leave the office. I changed careers. It was such a freeing feeling once it was done. It's almost as if the entire 2 or 3 years before, from the promise of God and the preparation, I had also been living in the reality because I had already written the book. I had been living in the reality of someone who no longer lived in the office. So when I walked out of there, very triumphant, very confidently, knowing that I would make it, I was already in the new reality. So how do you know that you've made the right decision? Many times there will be challenges along the way and it's going to be difficult. But I believe, number one, if you have a word from God, you should take the step. For me, how I'm so sure that I've made the right decision is because of the tangible results and how I feel. Let's start with how I feel. I am much happier now. I am much freer. I have more peace in my head. I'm more creative and productive. And of course, I'm making more money because it's not as if I left a job that was so high paying for something that's less. It's actually the opposite. I was at a mid-level at my place of employ, and now I am the CEO of my own company, running my own show. So yes, it has paid off that way as well. Now, in terms of what have I been able to produce? Because now I exchange solutions for money as opposed to time for money. I've got more time to create things of higher value. So out of the time that I've been on my own, working in my own business as an SWC, I've created a podcast. I have started the speaking school as the addendum to the Speak with Confidence program. Now I'm going out into the schools with my Speak with Confidence program. Then I am more qualitative in what I give my clients because now there's time to think of what does each life coaching client need and what are the tools that I know of or can develop to make sure that they win in life. You guys, it's amazing that the minute you come off the 9 to 5 hamster wheel, you see all of the options, all of the people who a long time before you decided that they were no longer meant for the rat race and are crushing it in their own businesses in alternative ways of making money and doing what they love. I have this thing that I came up with, and it's actually in my book, I'm Not Going Back to the Office. While I was writing it and looking at my own process and a couple other people's, I think we need to head for calling, and I wrote about that. My simple formula for calling is this: your gifts and your skills plus your big why is equal to your calling. And I believe every human being, particularly as you get older, you should be heading for your calling, and once you find it, you should be walking in it. It's almost for me that everybody should make it a responsibility. I know that is not the option for everybody, but if something that I'm saying here today is tugging at your heartstrings, reach out to me. I might be able to help you to move from just working that job to walking in your calling and make an impact while making an income. So for me, my gifts and skills of speaking and writing and coaching, plus my big why, which comes out of I want you to win. There's a righteous anger when people don't win. And I asked the question like, why should you not win? And so I've combined that big why with my gifts of speaking, writing, and coaching to create coaching programs, to inspire people with my speaking, to do training programs, to write books that will help people to imagine themselves in new worlds. So both fiction and non-fiction, that's what I'm heading for. What is your calling? And are you walking in it? In the Bible, it says, a man's gift makes room for him and brings him before kings. Another verse says, "Do you see a man diligent in his work? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men." And I could go on about verses of scripture that really encourage us to walk in what we were meant for, to go after more, and to not settle for less. What about this one? Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. That one too was very important for me because I was like, Lord, I'm serving you. I really was getting very deeply into prayer and fasting and turning my sights and my whole being towards God. And I was like, yes, he can do this for me. Yes, if I ask him to create a way for me not to go back to the office job that I didn't like, he could do that for me. And he has. And I'm walking in it right now. And I believe you're listening to this today because you too can walk in your calling. You too can combine your gifts and your skills with a big why, a big thing that you want to do in the world, a thing that angers you or gets you going to create an impact and to make an income because it is possible. All things are possible to him who believes. So before I end the podcast today, I wanted to give you a couple strategic steps that you can take to let go of fear. Now, this fear might be related to maybe changing careers like I have, or starting a business, or anything you find yourself paralyzed, not able to take the next step because perhaps something is unknown, perhaps you don't know what's going to happen, and you can't fathom it, and so you prefer to stay in the comfort zone of what you know, which you probably don't want. You want something better, but you don't know how to move forward. Here are a couple steps to take. The first one is this: put God in it. You guys, I was listening to an interview with Trisha Bailey. She's the first billionaire in Jamaica, I think. And almost everything this woman said was just peppered with her faith in God. And so it just gave me a lot of confidence and a lot of just validation that it's okay to combine everything about God with professional things and executive things and doing business in the world, because it does begin with him. If you have to make a decision, seek God and try to get an answer from him first before you proceed. Once you get that answer, however, then you need to get into action. Then, if the answer is yes, you need to move forward confidently like it had already happened. That would entail preparation. Because the one thing that I know about my decision to change careers was that it didn't happen without preparation. I had to go through the process of the late nights and the sleepiness and the sacrifice of time for my family and all of that for me to get to the other side of being certified, qualified, experienced, to have proof of concept that I could stand on, yes, God's word, and also I knew, hey, here was the path that I could take. So that's the first thing. Put God in it. Then secondly, you want to begin to move towards it. Can I also say perhaps on that same level is to have red hot desire for the thing? There's no point in being lukewarm in this world. The thing that moves the needle and makes it possible for you to continue to sacrifice until you get what you want is fueled by red hot desire for it. My desire was twofold. I so wanted the freedom to create and to make my own money and to do it in a way that I loved. I so wanted it that I asked God for it. At the same time, I was so convinced that I was not meant for the office, that I had way too much talent to be stuck in a 9-to-5. I could make way more money if I had my own time back. And that's exactly the kind of thought process and emotions that went into the decision. So I want you to have red hot desire for the thing that you want. That is going to help you to go through the process and to overcome the fear. Another thing that you need to do is to get ready. It will entail deep preparation. You will need to take all the courses, get the coaching. You will need to make the connections. You will need perhaps to work on the weekends, after work, before work. Do all the things that you need to do until you get to where you want to get. Now, Here's one very specific strategy if you are looking to change careers. You don't want to burn down the ship, okay, before you have proof of concept, unless God says to do it. What you can do is to let your day job fuel your calling. And that's what I did for a long time, as well as, the compensation from my coaching, etc., fueling the certifications and so on. I did have help in terms of what I made in the day job, being able to pay for the things that I needed as a life coach, as a speaker, as a writer. So let your day job fuel your calling until you can replace that day job with your calling. And that, I think, is so important. There are only two more things. Have confidence. I embody being a coach, being a speaker. I see so many other people who perhaps have way more skill than I do, but are afraid to even say it. I am not one of those. The stakes are too high, okay? And God has been too good to me. This is a come and see what the Lord has done for me moment. This is not a tentative kind of, I am not sure that I made the right decision. No, this is a promise fulfilled from God, and I am walking in it. I am thankful. I give him the glory, and, I'm just going to roll out the entire plan according to him. Lastly, when you make that decision, just make it right. Once you've made the decision that you were afraid to make and you've taken that leap, do not look back. Do not look back. Look not to the left or to the right. Keep your eyes focused on what you're heading for. What you have left behind is in the past. Keep on moving forward and keep focused on what you're trying to accomplish. And you know what? Perhaps the very last point is be wise in who you tell as you make your moves. I'm so happy that I had the wisdom to be quiet about my move, because even though I am certain it was the right thing to do, I'm certain it is a promise fulfilled from God, you still have to be judicious in who you tell, because it really is like a seed that needs to be planted and nurtured, and it begins to flower with the fruit of the labor and of the move, which people are now seeing because I'm speaking about it. So be quiet about it in the beginning if you have to. Sometimes things grow best in the dark, in the shadows, in the night, in the quiet, without the scrutiny of people, without people maybe wanting what's bad for you, waiting for you to fail. You say it at the time when you have proof of concept and you are well on your way, when it is no longer a shoot, but it is something that is strong and steady and has perhaps years or months of experience under it already. And that's where I am, and I'm happy for it. I hope this helped you today. I hope you let go of the fear, because on the other side of it, you guys, there is peace and happiness and walking in calling and doing the thing that you couldn't do before and blessing the world with talent that comes because you've got time and space to create solutions and also get paid for it. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you in the next episode of Basement Chronicles. Bye. Thank you so much for listening today. Now, I know that you prioritize your growth and success. So if you feel stuck in any area of your life, why don't you consider life coaching? My signature program, How to Get Unstuck Total Transformation, has helped so many professional and executive women to free themselves of limiting beliefs and habits, learn to love and prioritize themselves, set firm boundaries and stick to them, be more confident, move up exponentially in their careers, and become the best versions of themselves. How badly do you want to get unstuck? How badly do you want to be the best version of you? If you desire more, take the first step right now. Go to my website, lisamdublin.com/coaching, and book a consultation with me. Let's talk about your coaching needs, because the life you want is totally possible.